Hey guys, it's Goiger Plus back down more to your day, and my first major series I did on the Goiger Plus channel was the season predictions, where basically I would go over every team's Madden ratings and then important losses and things and their records. I'm gonna do it differently this time. I'm only gonna do one video for regular season predictions and one video for playoff predictions. Still want to do award predictions and stuff like that, but since there isn't a whole website now where you can do your predictions on, it's just so much simpler to do that kind of thing. But I'm not going to go over my predictions for each game, because I feel like that's just pointless. It's going to create debate over if they're going to beat the specific team. So instead, I'm going to scroll down, look at every single division leader, and just go down to their I'm going to go division by division, starting with the AFC West. And I think the team that's going to win their division are the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think this is really a debate. The Chargers have fallen off a cliff. The Raiders are good, but they don't have that QB to bring them up to the next level, and the Broncos definitely aren't there. The Chiefs are clearly the best team in the division. I don't think they're going to have much trouble. But one loss in the division is to the Raiders, who they always find a way to lose to, I feel like. But 13-4 is kind of what feels like a ceiling for them. I don't think they're going to win more than 13 games. I think this is the amount of games they are going to win. They don't have a crazy hard schedule either. They have some tough matchups, but especially when they have 6 whole games going against the AFC West, it's really easy to win a lot of those. The next team, number 2, the Raiders at 8-9, will just barely miss the playoffs. I think this is better than they did last year, but despite Gardner Minshew having some fans, I still don't think this team is ready. They also lost Josh Jacobs, but they did gain Brock Bowers and Christian Wilkins. They have a decent foundation. They just don't have the QB to bring it all in motion. So without a quarterback, I can't say this team is going to make the playoffs, but I do think the Raiders are probably the second best team in this division. As we move on to the 6-11 Broncos. Under Bo Nix, they could get some wins. We saw him have a good preseason week 1. But with Jerry Drew looking to leave, Cortland Sutton's all right, but he still hasn't gone up to that next level. Losing Justin Simmons, I just can't see this team being better than below average. I think this is going to be another disappointing season for the Mile High Denver Broncos. And then we've got the Chargers at 5-12. I'm not 100% sure on this one. I think you could easily interchange the Broncos who are going 6-11 and the Chargers are going 5-12. But maybe Herbert gives them a few lucky wins, but this roster just does not look good in my opinion at all. They don't really got the defense they used to. Derwin James hasn't been as good as he used to be. Their receiver core is completely deep fried. I just really don't see anything I like about this roster. I'm going to be honest here. Chargers, maybe I'm downplaying them a bit to some people, but even Herbert, I don't even think he's a top 5, maybe even top 8 QB. I don't think he's that great. He's pretty good, but I don't think he's going to make this team that much better, especially with how bad they already are. What's the next division? I don't know. Well, we're going to move on to the AFC North, and the leading team for that division are the Baltimore Ravens at 12-5, 2-4 in the division. What was I? All right, whatever. The record matters more than the actual divisional record. I don't even know if that's accurate, that 2-4 division record. But the Ravens are playing in the toughest, maybe the single toughest division. I think they probably are. I mean, Steelers are moving up along with the Browns, and the Bengals and Ravens have always been good. Not always, but since they got their respective starting QBs. The Ravens are just getting better every year. They just added Derrick Henry to the roster along with Zay Flowers and what's that guy's name? It's not Rondale Moore. I can't remember his name, but the other guy. They have a decent especially Mark Andrews. They have decent weapons for Lamar to throw to. I think they're going to be more successful than last year. Matter of fact, Lamar's coming off another MVP season. Their defense is still really good. I think they're the best team in this division, and I don't even. It's like not a huge gap. It's not as big as the gap between the Chiefs and the Raiders, but I think they should be the best team in this division, despite, as you can see, them struggling against their division. We've got the Steelers at 9-8 in next, and they actually make it into a playoff spot. I was not very high on the Steelers last year. I didn't like Kenny Pickett. I just thought they weren't going to make it as far as people thought. Still has some doubts here because Najee Harris still hasn't turned into that top running back that he was really supposed to be. He makes highlights, but is he really consistent? I wouldn't say that. Steelers are still having a really good defense, and then George Pickens is getting better. That guy is a beast. Good to see a player from Georgia actually play really well. But it's hard to say here because the division is so good. It's hard to say if the Browns or the Bengals would take their spot. But for what I see now, I think they're going to do really well against their division. I think they match up well against teams like the Bengals and the Browns. I'm excited to see whoever starts between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. That could be their downfall, too, not being able to decide on one QB. If they end up playing well, then Russell Wilson will probably stay as their QB, but like in this prediction. But maybe we'll see Fields get on the field some other way. No pun intended. Next, the Bengals just fall out of the playoffs at 9-8. Still good, but who are they losing? T. Higgins? And then they also lost Joe Mixon. They haven't had Jesse Bates. I think it's going to be another disappointing season for Bengals fans. They got to give Joe Burrow something else to work with, hopefully at tight end or running back, because this team is feeling a little bit empty on the star player role. Who's that guy on the defensive line? No, I don't even think they have a great player on the defensive line. I just don't see much for the Bengals here. I think that Super Bowl season, it wasn't a fluke, but there's just two teams that you don't really feel like were going to be successful for a very long time, in the Bengals and the Rams. And neither of them ended up being very successful after that. Of course, Burrow got some wins against Patrick Mahomes. I think in the regular season, I think he's only beaten once in the playoffs. Was it the Bengals who beat them? I'm not sure. Anyway, they're going to just fall out because of the Steelers and their division record. And the final team are the Browns at 8-9. We don't know if Chubb's going to be 100%. If he is, they have a higher chance of making it. But I'm still not very high on Deshaun Watson. Amari Cooper's good, but he's definitely not one of the best in the league. I wouldn't put him in the top 10, and he might fall out of the top 15 to some people. Denzel Ward has always just been a B-plus cornerback. I think in his earlier years he did hit an A maybe, but I don't know. He hasn't really taken my eyes. But like Grant Delpit, also pretty good, but it's just a tough division. And despite them having a pretty good divisional record, they struggle to win those non-divisional games, which dropped them to the bottom of their division despite being 8-9. Next, the AFC South and the Texans, I think, are going to win this division once again, going 11-6, 5-1 in their division. This is an odd division because I think the Texans are the best in their division, but there's two teams you probably know that could definitely contend with them. It's a really good QB division, except for the Titans. You've got C.J. Stroud, Trevor Lawrence, and Anthony Richardson. Of course, Richardson didn't get a full season to prove himself, but we know he's good. We're not going to act like he's not. But roster top of the bottom, I think the Texans got the best chance. I mean, they have Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs. Like, that's going to be a nasty duo. And then C.J. Stroud throwing it to him. It's going to be a really good season for the Texans, especially not going against the hardest division in the league. I think the Jaguars do barely make it to the playoffs in 9-8. I'm telling you, they were like, in my predictions, they started like 3-6 or something really bad and ended up winning a lot of their final games to make it to the playoffs. So I do think it's interesting. They still have players like Christian Kirk, Travis Etienne. I was thinking about Trevor from the Bulldogs, and a really strong defense of players like Josh Allen. So I think they are going to be a good team. I'm not sure if Lawrence is going to play good enough for them to be the top of their division. I think this is going to be a competitive division between the Texans and the Jaguars. As you can see here, the main difference is the Texans played well in the AFC South, and the Jaguars don't in my predictions. The Colts got to be next year, right? Yep. They go 9-8, just missed the playoffs behind the Jaguars. I also think they're a pretty decent team, but Richardson did not get a full season to play and develop like Stroud did. Of course, Taylor's good, but is he really a top running back in the league anymore? We're not really sure. And they have Michael Pittman, but he's not even the best starting receiver in this division. So the Colts are going to be all right. I don't think they're going to do anything special. Unless Richardson really just ends up being another Lamar, then I don't see him elevating his team to the playoffs. He's going to be just short. And the bottom of the barrel in this division is going to be the Titans at 5-12. Sure, they got Calvin Ridley, but that guy didn't really elevate the Jaguars. He's not going to elevate the Titans. I think they're just going to be... I don't think... Olaf is easily the worst QB in this division, and they just don't got anybody. They lost Derrick Henry. I do not... Of course, they kept, DeAndre Hopkins, right? But, I mean, I got really that excited for him. I just don't see much for them, and they're not playing in the worst division. Like, I think either of these teams could easily sweep the Titans if they get even remotely lucky, and I have two of them sweeping the Titans. I think the one team I had them beating was the Colts. So, yeah, I don't think it's going to be a very fun season for you Titans fans like RBT. In the AFC South, the Dolphins, I have them going 10-7, 2-4 in the division. Another team that makes the playoffs are not doing that great. But it's not really their fault. It's another good division. Jets and Bills could easily sweep the Dolphins, really. And as you can see here, I think I have the Bills sweeping them. So, like, the Dolphins are a weird team. I have them winning the division, but it's not by a lot. I think this division is filled with teams that could easily make a wild card spot, but none of them really deserve a first-round bye. This is the weakest division winner here. The Dolphins are still a good team. I just don't know if Tua's going to be able to get them big wins over divisional opponents. And I don't have much trust in the Dolphins at all. I think they could lose to any team, but they could also beat any team. So they're going to be exciting to see, especially because I have them making it to the playoffs once again. Jets also make to the playoffs at 9-8, 4-2 in the division. As long as Aaron Rodgers is there, I think they're going to be a much better team than they were last year. I do like the Jets a little bit. I like Garrett Wilson. Sauce Gardner's crazy. Breece Hall's really elevated his game to another level. This offense is going to be nasty. And they still got Quinnen Williams, C.J. Mosley on the defense. This is one of the more well-built rosters. I think the Jets did a great job rebuilding. But I just don't know if they're ready to make a real playoff push yet. And they only are going 9-8 for me. And the Bills just barely missed the playoffs at 8-9. I don't know how Allen's going to play without Stephon Diggs. Of course, he's going to be much higher in QB rankings than he is right now if he can prove that he can win without his top receiver like Patrick Mahomes did. But I don't see that happening. Of course, you can see they have a very good record against the division. They sweep the Patriots, sweep the Dolphins. I think they tie against the Jets. But I just think they're going to be all right. I don't even know if they're going to be better than the Jets. Just because, and then Travius White's gone. I just don't have a lot to like about this roster except for like Josh Allen, Ed Oliver, and James Cook. And finally, Patriots also go 5-12, 1-5 in their division. They have a rookie QB. They just lost Juju Smith-Schuster. Their roster is absolute garbage. They're not going to be good. I don't think we have to dwell on this one much. If you think the Patriots are winning more than 7 games again, I think you're going crazy. But let's move on to the NFC. Number 1 in the NFC West, the San Francisco 49ers once again. I did give them a little bit of competition. You'll see that in a minute. But I do think the 49ers are by far the best roster. Maybe in the entire NFL. Great QB, great receiver corps, like how you trying to leave. Good top 2, top 3 tight end. One of the best offensive lines, one of the best defenses. The only thing stopping them is the playoffs, in my opinion. That's why I have them having one of the best records in the NFC. So, I definitely have high hopes for them in this season once again. I don't see them falling off. But I will say, they were like 7-6. Not 7-6. That was completely wrong. But they were more like, it was later in the season, but they did not have a great record. It was midway through the season or something. It was like, they're like 4-4. It was something not great in my predictions, but they ended up just locking in and winning out and clinching their division. Number 2, the Seahawks also go 12-5. This is a hot take. I've not seen someone have the Seahawks this high up. But I do think, despite them, it really just depends on how Geno Smith plays. They have the roster in place. They still got a great receiver room with Metcalf, Lockett, and Njigba. They've got, who is the running back? I can't remember his name. Kenneth Walker. This offense really should be elite. I really think the Seahawks are going to be really good this year. And I'm not 100% sure on it. They could definitely end up being mid just like every other year with Geno Smith, where they were just all right. But I think this year's going to be different for Seattle. I'm hoping it is because I want to see some competition in the NFC West besides just being a 49er freak show every year. This is a bold take for them to have this great of a record. It's not as bad as I'm ranked saying the Bears are going to go 12-5. We'll get to that later. But definitely think they're going to contend with the 49ers for this division. But the thing holding them back is their poor divisional record. Next, the Cardinals actually have them going 8-9, 2-4 in their division, missing the playoffs just barely. This one is also pretty hard and a pretty hot take because most people think the Cardinals are going to be terrible again. And they definitely could be, but Marvin Harrison is great. We already know that. Kyler Murray's coming back. I think he's a pretty good quarterback. I don't think that's a hot take. I think people know he's a good QB. He just has to stay healthy and stop arguing with his head coach. They've got some pieces. They're still missing a lot of positions, namely like linebacker. But I think the Cardinals could be all right. It's still a bold take to say they're going to be this good. But I think it's a take that I will definitely be correct in. Maybe they'll end up making 7 games. Maybe 8's a little bit of a stretch. Maybe 7 is more realistic, especially because of how bad they've been. But I think this offense definitely has a ton of potential. And the last in the division, also at 8 and 9, are the Los Angeles Rams. This is a pretty good division, as you can see from the records. Kind of reminds me of the AFC North, just more top-heavy. I think it's going to be a competitive division. Everybody has at least 2 divisional wins. The Rams still have Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Matthew Stafford. I still think they're going to be really, really good. Even with the loss of Aaron Donald, I just don't think they're going to be... they're definitely not good enough to contend with, in my opinion, the 2 best in this division, the 49ers and the Seahawks. And they end up being just behind the Cardinals. Could definitely have them just above the Cardinals, though. And in the NFC South, this might seem biased to you, but I have the Falcons being 11 and 6. 10-7 is also a real possibility here. Just how many times you think they're going to upset teams that are normally better than them. That's what you have to think of. I have them getting a couple more upsets, being pretty good in the division, sweeping the Panthers. And I think they have the best QB in the division. I don't think that's really debatable. If you think Kirk Cousins is worse than Derek Carr or, what's his name? Baker Mayfield, I think you're clearly just biased in your opinion. Doesn't matter. I wouldn't say they have the best starting receiver. I think they have the second best. Well, Chris Olave has the better stats, but he also had the better quarterback. So you could be said for any team for any player on the non-Falcons, because the Falcons have had terrible QB play for like 3 years now. Well, no, 2 years. Marcus Mariota, Desmond Ridder. So I feel like London is one of the better receivers. They have the best tight end in the division. That last year they had one of the top defenses and they had top 5 defense and top 5 offensive line. It was just that skill position where Ridder could not throw an open pass. He would find a way to overthrow Kyle Pitts. We were struggling with separation. But I don't want to dwell too long to make them seem like I'm biased, which I feel like I'm a little biased. I had the Falcons going 10-7 last year. But I think this is their best chance. If the Falcons don't end up being good this year, then they might end up never being good. But they got an easy division. I think they definitely have a chance to be really good. Maybe not a deep playoff push, but I think the regular season needs to go well. I think it will. Bucks at 10 and 7. I still don't understand why people thought they were going to be the worst. Listen, one of my hot takes from last year was that the Bucks were going to be good. People had them going 4, 5, 6 wins. I was like, no, they're still the best defense roster-wise in the NFC South, and they're going to be 10 and 7. And they weren't 10 and 7. I think they were 8 and 9 or 9 and 8, but they still won the division like I thought. Well, I didn't think they were. I thought they were going to be tied with the Falcons, I think. And I think the Falcons had the better divisional record. But either way, I had the Bucks being one of the best records, while most people having them as the worst record. I'm high on the Bucks again this year. Baker Mayfield seems to be getting pretty comfortable with that Bucks team. Still having one of the best receivers in the league in Mike Evans. Chris Godwin's still there. Levante David, Deion White are still there. White's been kind of a complicated mess, but Vita Vea's still an absolute monster. Antoine Winfield. They just got a really good roster. Can they put it together and win 10 games? I think they can this year, especially because I don't think the Saints or Panthers are going to be all that. I have the Saints going 7 and 10. Good divisional record, but not much anywhere else. I have them sweeping the Panthers, I think. Yeah, I have them sweeping the Panthers. The Saints are an odd team just because you can never really tell what they're going to do. They're never going to get more than 10 wins or 11 wins. They're never going to get less than 6 wins. They just always feel like they're going to be in that middle area until they can get a better QB than Derek Carr. And they haven't really done that yet. So I think he's still going to just be middle of the road. Oops, that was not what I wanted to do. Whoop, yeah, right, a little spoiler. Anyway. God. Well, let's look at the rest of the NFC South. Let's just get this video over with quicker because honestly I've been dwelling a lot. But Saints at 7 and 10, Panthers at 5 and 12, which is better than the 2-15 record last year. I don't think any teams are going to be as bad as they were last year. I still think they suck. I think the Panthers are going to be the worst in the division by far. Maybe still the worst roster in the league. I think Bryce Young is going to take a decent step in the right direction, which leads them to being better. But they just did not do enough to answer that terrible offense from last year. It's not enough, and I think they're still going to be really bad. Saints have some skill position players, Kamara, Olave. Do I think it's going to be enough to make a playoff push? Not really. I think they're going to be all right. One of the 7 and 10 teams with probably a top 10 pick by the end of the year. NFC North is complicated because I feel like really anybody could win it except for one team. Well, they could still win it. The Lions 10-7 winning the division for me. They're good last year. They lost some games they should have won, like against the Seahawks and then against the 49ers in the playoffs, but they still got a really high-temper coach who could definitely make mistakes that leads them to losing. But they've still got a decent QB in Jared Goff, a great receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown. They've got Sam Laporta, who's a great replacement for T.J. Hawkinson. Jahmyr Gibbs, one of the most electric players from last year. Like, they've got an amazing offense. The question is, can their defense hold up? I think they will decently well, but I think their defense is definitely going to lead to some shootouts. And you're not going to... If you play 5 shootouts a season, you're only going to win like 2 of them. At the end of the day, you're not going to win every shootout you're in. So you need some sort of defense. I don't think the Lions really have that, which is going to lead to them, despite being pretty good, them not being good enough to really dominate the NFC North. The Packers are going to be just behind them. The Packers probably have the best QB in the NFC North. Jordan Love is really good. That guy is... I don't know how the Packers keep getting infinite QB glitch, but they keep doing it. I think they're going to be just missing the playoffs at 9-8. It really sucks. I don't know. I just like Jordan Love. Like, he's pretty cool. But they're just missing it. They still have that star power at receiver. They lost Aaron Jones. So I guess A.J. Dillon's going to be the starter. Didn't they get Josh Jacobs? I'm very sure Josh Jacobs went to the Packers. He did. I was correct. What just happened? Get me out of this ad. What'd I do? Okay. I don't know how I broke this website. Alright, let's just reset everything. Go back to the thing, everything. I want to talk about my teams. Back to the Packers. Star power is lacking. But what they lacking that they have a really good QB, pretty good defense, and honestly a pretty bad division. The Bears are not going to be good. I know Adam Rank is very high on them, but he's high on them every year. Even last year when they were clearly one of the worst teams, he had them winning like 10 games or 11 games. Don't take him seriously. Take me seriously. The Bears are going to be all right. They have a decent division record in their division. I'm pretty sure they got the sweep on the Vikings. The Vikings aren't going to be good either. Let's talk about them together. Neither of them have both of them have a rookie QB, which means probably not going to be very good. Both of them have really good receiver cores, but can those QBs immediately get it out to them? That's the question. The Bears have an elite offense, absolutely garbage defense. Let's be completely honest. The Bears are going to be probably the worst defensive team in the league this year. That's probably why I have them so low. That's why I have a really good offense. I mean, you got to have good defense nowadays because every team has at least a decent offense nowadays. The thing that sets teams apart is how good their defense can be because every team's going to have at least a pretty decent receiver core. They have an above average one. But they have a very below average defense. That's why I can't be too high on them. And the Vikings they have Justin Jefferson. They don't really got a great running back anymore. Their defense is kind of getting older. They aren't really grabbing new stars. Of course, a player like Dallas Turner could end up being that, but probably not year one. They don't have a guy that's really, except for like what's his name, the new Hunter. Harrison Smith getting old. Even Hunter's getting a little bit old. Just don't have any high hopes for the Vikings at all. Don't expect much from them this year. And I actually had them being pretty good last year. I think I had them getting 10 wins. I ended up having 7. That's because I still had a good QB that I didn't think was going to get injured. It's just a final division. I think it is. Cowboys win the NFC East at 10-7. They go 5-1 in the division. Only lost being to the Eagles. Now this isn't a great record, but they have a pretty challenging schedule. I think just making the playoffs is good enough for them. But I think the Cowboys are still the best team in their division. And they could possibly go behind the Eagles. Like, that's interchangeable for me. The Eagles or the Cowboys, I would not be mad if you chose either of them to win that division. In this instance, I had the Cowboys. Last year, I had the Eagles. It's just like, I have them both going 10-7. Cowboys have the better record because Eagles dropped the game to the Commanders. Let me check. They dropped one to the Commanders. So what I'm trying to say is, just because of one divisional win, the Cowboys are being higher spot than the Eagles. Does that mean they're gonna make it farther in the playoffs? We only have to watch to find out. Then the bottom of the barrel of this NFC East division, the Commanders go 7-10 and 3-3. Still don't got this. They have a rookie QB. All right, I'm just not gonna make them that good. Still have a good roster. Think the Giants are gonna be absolutely atrocious. The only team that have going 0-6 in their division, getting swept by all three, of course, is the division, so they might squeak out one win or two. It's just my prediction. Teams rarely go 0-6 in their division. But, yeah, they got Malik Neighbors and Jalen Hyatt, but they also lost their best offensive player in Saquon Barkley, and they still have that guy named Daniel Jones starting. So I really don't think they're going to be very good. And they're in a pretty hard division, too. But that's going to be the end of this prediction video. This is all the records if you want to look at them. So the best record goes to the Chiefs at 13-4. Worst record goes to a few teams, actually. Vikings, Patriots, Titans, Chargers, and Panthers at 5-12. Of course, it's probably going to be one team that falls like to 3 or 2 wins. I won't say 2. I'll say 3 or 4 wins. Ends up being the clear number 1 pick. But in this prediction, I think every team is at least talented to get 5 wins. But next time I'll be doing playoff predictions and award predictions. And then I'll also have another bonus video later. Hopefully all coming out in August. But hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys next time. Adios.